Hello everybody. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, to start afresh, to continue discussing and briefing the course under this title, The Origins and Development of English Language. So hopefully we'll start from where we were last time. Well, last time, if you remember, we stopped English, the variations of English. We said not all sessions, not all classes of English are the same. In a scientific English, we find different language from literal language. In a religious language, we find a different category and kind of language from the language of law. And we give an example of postcard language. Postcard language, you find something like, having a wonderful time, wish you were here. You write something very economical, very brief, but on the spot. It powers the target, you see. It tells you there. And also it says something about the email and instant messaging, the email language. If you remember, I showed you all this book. The English language, or the category of English reflected here or done here, is different from the other categories and varieties of English. So English is renewing. It is an organic language. It is on the move. Usually find new expressions and new words. So we said SYO in a message or in an email, it means something like see you online, see you online. You see, it is very economical, abbreviations actually, but powers in the meaning of the language. Today we start from this point, the correctness and acceptability of language. Well, can we ask through this history of language, we say this is correct and this is incorrect? Or this is acceptable and this is unacceptable? Try to focus on these two examples. If I were in your shoes, if I were in your shoes, I would do it. And the second example, if I was in your shoes, I would do it. You see, it is one example, but it has different forms, were and was. If I were in your shoes, well, is it acceptable? Is it correct? Yes, it is. Yes, it is correct. Yes, grammatically correct. Concerning grammar, it is correct because this is the second conditional, which is impossible. We reflect it in a language that to reveal that it is even impossible. If I were in your shoes. While it is wrong when we say if I was in your shoes, if I was in your shoes. Although was is correct to be used with I. Yes. I was. Yes. But you were, they were, the other persons. So here we say this is correct. The first one is correct while the second one is not correct, although it is logical. And what is acceptable in a language? If I give you an example, in America, the American usually pronounce the word, the past tense of eat as ate, ate, A-T-E. Here we pronounce it as ate, ate. I ate fish yesterday. While American people say, I ate fish yesterday. Like the number following 7, number 8, E-I-G-H-T. So they consider any other pronunciation apart from 8 is unacceptable. This is what is under this title, correctness and acceptability. We move a little bit and say something about language and human. If you remember yesterday, we said something very brief about language as human, language and human. And we said that language is specifically a human activity. Only human being can speak a language. But the question that poses itself, can we say when did people start to talk the language? Can you give a date? Can you give a history to where people use the language? And how did they use it? Well, it becomes like a chicken egg problem. Which is first? a chicken or an egg? Yeah. So, is it innate or learned? These are so many questions that can be asked when we talk about language. When did it start? Innate, that means it is inbuilt in our brain, that we're born with it. Inbuilt, you see? So we're born with the language. That is why our newborn come to the world with cries. And then they shape these cries into words, babbling words, until he or she comes to the stage of saying papa, mama, this is by our kids, and then renew it and replace it with words, proper words, baba, water. This is a full sentence, baba, give me water. You see, but economized, because it is still children language or childish language, and it moves in this direction until it becomes a proper language, correct language, that he picks words and chooses. So this usually comes when you have a great stock of vocabulary, and we get it from the society that you are living in. We take a word from this fellow, a word from this guy, and a word from this woman over there. So we collect these words and we use them. In recyclicity, we use them. If you use it, well, some experts say if you use a word 15 times in 15 different situations, you will never forget it. So this is the way that we collect and store our stock of vocabulary. So these questions are true questions that we could ask about language. When did it start? How did it start? Is it innate, inbuilt in our brains? Or is it learned? We learn it from other people. Still, we say the way we communicate is different from the other apes and animals. We don't communicate like animals, you see? Yeah. So, there must be some theories concerning the language. So, theories of the origin of language, under this title, the theories. This is very important, yeah. Try to focus on this, please. The theories of the origin of language. Some people say theories, but it is correct to be theories. The theories of the origin of language. Well, the problem of how language began, well, this experts for a long time investigated, and philosophers, the mind of the human being, they classified the brain into rooms. Actually, two main hemispheres, two main divisions, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. Yeah. Hemisphere, we spell it like what? H-E-M-I-S-P-H-E-R-E, hemisphere. Hemisphere, you see, a place. So this right hemisphere, in most people, we said that controls the movement of the body. Hemisphere, the right hemisphere. While the left hemisphere is to control the languages. That is why if you suffer a crash here, you will be paralyzed, yes, within your language. Yeah. You can't pronounce the language properly. Your tongue will be deformed. And if you suffer a crash here on this right side, you will be paralyzed. You cannot move. You will be halfway paralyzed. Also, this phenomena can be interpreted in those who write with their right hands and left hands. If your language control is on the right side, you will be left-handed. You will write with your left hand. Whereas if your language dominant place is on the left hemisphere, you write with your right hand. This is again interpretation for this theory. Well, the theories that make the language can be as follows. We have 5 or 4 different theories that experts speculate on as the seeds for all this language that we are talking. The first theory is called Pooh theory. P double O H hyphen P double O H. It is called Pooh theory. You know how to write theory, okay? Theory theory, the Pooh theory. Well, this is the first theory. It says that this idea is true. The meaning of this theory, it says that this idea is true. When you talk to someone to say poo-poo, that means what you've said is true. So the language within this meaning, orbiting within this meaning, yes, could become to this theory. The second theory is bow wow, B-O-W, B-O-W, B banana, B-O-W, hyphen W-O-W, theory. Well, this comes from a child's words for dog. Bow wow, bow wow. If you repeat it so many times, it comes like the barking of a dog. It says that children interpret the barking of a dog as coming like that. You see, bow wow, bow wow. As we said in Arabic, how, how. When we say how to a child, it means that a dog comes like that, you see, or it barks like that. Theory number 3, ding dong, D-I-N-G, hyphen, D-O-N-G, and theory, ding dong theory. Well, this comes from the sound of the bell. Many experts, many philosophers, many linguists say that the bell goes like this, ding dong, ding dong. So they shape a language from that. Last but not least, you, he, ho. You, he, ho, this is the fourth theory. It is written like that, Y-O hyphen, he, small h-e, hyphen, and h-o. You, he, ho, you, he, ho. Again, if you repeat it, this comes from the porters. Yes, the porters work. A number of people to carry heavy loads in a station or a board, and they have to do it collaboratively. This is to take something, this one to take another part. Yes, they take it in turn. They say he, ho, ho, he, ho, ho. You see, this repetition makes the theory of this language. So, in a situation where a lot of people helping each other or doing a work in a collaborative work, go in this way. Well, this series reflects the echo of language. These four theories that we have mentioned just now reflect the sound of the language. We call it echo. Yes, E-C-H-O, the echo. So language actually started like that, a mixture of a sound and gesture. Yesterday we talked about gesture. You mime something. If you want to say the wheel is turning round, yeah, the wheel. You see, you express turning round in a movement, body movement, in a sign language. So it is a combination of both sound and gesture. But gesture mainly tell the meaning. Okay. Well, language as an innate ability. So innateness of language ability, innate, I-N-N-A-T-E. It is inbuilt, we're born with it. Well, yesterday we said also people are genetically equipped with the ability to learn the language or to acquire the language, to acquire it, to get it spontaneously in an unplanned way. We say acquire and learn. Acquire, usually we get a language subconsciously without planning to learn it. While learning is planned, like this class. Yeah, we're in a class, sitting in rows, paying attention to what someone says. This is planned, this is learning. You can learn it or you cannot learn it, but acquisition, well, happens automatically. Well, a theory says that a child before 7 years old has a very transparent brain. His brain is very transparent. Whatever you say to him, it sticks. If you tell him a story, he will learn it, yes, completely. So it sticks. So his brain is fresh. You say transparent and fresh. This is before 7 years, yeah, but it is difficult after that. This is just for the normal person. If you are physically deformed or mentally retarded, well, you cannot learn so quickly like that. So we can conclude that we are born with the ability to learn languages or to acquire languages. It is something within us. If you notice, yes, a 2-year child in your family, and you happen to ask him a question, where are your parents? What did he say? Well, they went to the market. Something we can replace it by the language. Went to the market. In Arabic we can say ذهبوا السوق أو فاتوا السوق. This is of course language, grammar. Who taught him this grammar? Nobody. But with his direct contact with his environment, with his family, he learned and acquired this language. So this usually prove and show an evidence that language is innate. We're born with it. We're born with language, unless we are therefore dumb. Well, but if you ask a question, do birds and bees really talk? Dogs, cows, birds, unless only a parrot. Only a parrot can speak, yeah, or repeat what you speak. Well, there is an experiment done on some chimpanzees. That is by name Sarah, Lana, and Washu. These are 3 different chimpanzees. They have learned lessons, taught lessons, but the result or ended in failure. The result ended in failure, or the experiments ended in failure. And they concluded that apes lack the ability to learn languages. The language is not innate in them. While on the other side, newborn children transferred to environment where language is spoken, and then those children grew up with that language of that place they transferred to as their mother tongue. An example of a child transferred to Britain and grown up with his language as English language. Well, we said yesterday also language is used by human for communication, to transmit a message, to transfer a message. Are there any other characteristics and purposes for the language? Yeah, can you tell me? What? Displacement, excellent, yeah. We can use it for a time, not that, apart from the time that we are speaking now. It can be used for, we can speak about the future, we can speak about the past, things that are not happening now, okay? So displacement, yeah. And openness, yes. The language is open, it accepts. There is renewal in a language. We accept new words, new expressions. So, and entertainment. And entertainment, yeah. You studied very hard and good, yeah. So, openness, displacement, and entertainment. Entertainment can be in form of poetry and jokes. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a joke. Someone who is oblivion, forgetful person, someone who forgets things very easily. And he went to a doctor and said to the doctor, "Doctor, I am oblivion, I forget things, I am very forgetful." Then the doctor started writing something and asked him, "When have you had it? When have you had it?" Then the patient said, "Had what?" Okay, yeah. And then the stories, yes, the stories again can tell you in a chronological way, well, the story. I'm puzzled, like what makes oil boil? What makes oil boil, the letter B. And of course, poetry, well, can tell you a lot of entertainment. But if we ask ourselves a big question, why do we study the history of English? Why? Why do you study this book, The Origin of English, the History of English? Then we come a little bit, well, step to our purpose. Why? Why do we study the history of English? It's to find about ourselves in the past. What did we do in the past, you see? What type of culture that we had led? The kind of education that we had led? The sort of language that we speak? And also to explain the irregularity of the language. I will give you just a simple example. The plural of mouse. You see, what is it? Mice. Well, this is in Old English. But after the invention of computer, how can we say the plural of mouse? Mouses. Yeah, the mouses of the computer, while the mice as those animals. So the language, we can see it is regularity and irregularity through the time. Well, it is a funny story here. Bernard Shaw said that we can write the word fish as so. GH, you write it GH or TI. This is fish, as it is written by Bernard Shaw. What is his logic in writing this? He said that GH pronounced fa as in enough. In enough, GH, the last sound in enough is fa. While O is pronounced E as in women. Women. The O in women, it sounds I. While TI, it sounds sha as in nation. 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 So TI sounds sha. So this is fish for him, for Bernard Shaw. And it is logic. Yeah. Also, one purpose behind learning the history of English or the language is to understand the literature of earlier times. Understand the literature of earlier time. Here I quote an example of Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer of the Canterbury Tales, you know. This is a very famous English writer, Geoffrey Chaucer. He wrote the Canterbury Tales. It is an ancient and old fables. He wrote something like this describing a knight, an ideal knight. Says, his horse were good. Right as I spell it, his horse, H-I-S, horse. Chaucer used to write horse as so, H-O-R-S. H-O-R-S. This is horse in the time of Chaucer. And were, W-E-R-E, wa, it is pronounced wa, by the way, not were, wa good. Good, G-O-O-D-E. So, if I ask you a question, how many horses did this knight had or have? How many horses? Yes, how many horses? His horse were good. Only one. Why? Because his. But his referred to Chaucer, to the knight, sorry, to the knight. But how many horses?
So many horses.
So many horses. What indicate this? Why did you say so many horses?
Because
They said they were good.
Were good, yes.
Yes.
The verb were.
yes.
Yeah, so subject agreement were and the subject. So horses used to be singular and plural like sheep in Joseph's time. In Joseph's time. So these are the purposes of studying the history of literature. Well, chapter 2, which is the sounds of current English. This is a very short chapter in a book. The sounds of current English. The sound of current English. Well, this chapter handles the organ of speech. The organs of speech. The parts in our body that make the sound. Well, to tell you first of all, the sound is made by an outgoing air from our lungs. It is called pulmonic air. It is called pulmonic air. This air comes out with a certain energy, and then the organ above the lungs, like the trachea, the windpipe, the larynx, the teeth, the mouth, the nasal cavity, the nose, all these parts come together to shape these sounds, the units of these sounds, yeah, see? So these are the organs of speech. The tongue. The tongue is the most agile body in our, well, in our mouth. It is agile, it moves a lot. It takes different shapes. You see? Then that is why languages are called tongues. Even in Quran, they refer to languages as tongue. It is the most agile, the most important organ in shaping the pronunciation. The lips and the teeth, nasal cavity, and what I have said. All these organs will help a lot in shaping the language and the sound of the language. But generally, we could classify the sounds that come out as consonant and vowels. Consonants. Consonants are sounds when produced. There is a sort of obstruction to the outgoing air. We prison this outgoing air somewhere, and then we release it. We keep it for some time and then we release it. Say for example, I'm saying pa. You see how I release this outgoing air through the mouth, through the lips, and then I purse it out. Pa. But in producing vowels, there is no obstruction. All the way, all the road is open all through. Ah, from the lungs, the windpipe, the pharynx, the mouth, the oral cavity, it comes out without an obstruction. And together, from the vowels, we could make diphthongs. Two sounds collided together. A. Two sounds collided together, we call them diphthongs. Diphthongs. That is D-I-P-H-T-H-O-N-G-S. Diphthongs. And triphthongs also. Three sounds collided together. Aya. Aya. Three vowels collided together to make this one. But still there are other features that to control the voice and sound of the language. We call it suprasegmental. There are no certain organs to shape the language with them, like stress. Stress. See this word. C-O-M-M or C-O-M-M-E-N-T. C-O-M-M-E-N-T. How do you pronounce it? Comment.
Comment.
Comment, yeah. Both of you are correct. Noun, verb. If we made a stress at the very beginning of the word or at the first syllable, we call it a noun. Comment. While we say comment is a verb. You see the same letters, but the position of the stress is different. This to make a difference. And then assimilation, what we call assimilation. How a sound to change like the sound previous to it. The person, the person. We don't say that person, the person. You see, that sound in that change to pa like in person, sort of assimilation. The person, that case. An elision, sometimes we lose a complete sound. Elision, we lose it.
Yes.
Elision, we delete it, yeah. All these are to interfere with sounding. So this is all about chapter 2. Chapter 2 is, well, is about the sounds, currents and phonetics and phonology of the language. Chapter 3, we talk about letters and sounds. Is there any correspondence between letters and sounds? Yeah, in the history of language, there may be correspondence between letters and sounds. Yeah, L gives me the sound la. You see correspondence. Yeah, but sometimes, well, there is no correspondence because the English language itself is not a systematic language like the word enough. The word enough, you see, the letters are not like the sound that you make. Yeah. We come to a subtitle that the history of English writing. We trace the writing of English. Well, the Germanic, this is, well, the German actually invaded Britain, well, some time ago in the past. And they come with what they call runes, R-U-N-E-S, runes, like letters, come with their letters, with their special letters, okay? Then, yes, when the English came to Britain, they used to use these runes. These runes come with the Germans. Although the Germans themselves don't write or didn't used to write a lot, but still they have letters to represent their language. They used 24 runes, 24 letters used by the Romans. Well, these are usually in form of triangles, triangular. The letters brought by the Romans were like shapes, circular and triangular and rectangular, and they have used it mainly in inscriptions and charms to write the Bible or to write their religion with. And the English came and modified these runes to their counterparts letters F. They derived these letters from the Roman runes F, U, P, O, R, C, G, and W. So these letters, by these shapes that we see today, are derived by the English from those Romanic runes. And then came the Anglo-Saxon. These are two tribes. Anglo-Saxon, this word is made from two tribes, Angles and Saxons. These are two tribes invaded Britain while in the past, and they unified their effort and make an alphabet. They have invented S, T, GH, SH, CH, and WH, J, I, and H. You see, these letters are invaded by the Anglo-Saxon. So tracing the writing, we have come through so many nations, the Romans, the English people themselves, the Angles and the Saxon. They all have effort in making these letters. But Still, there is a variation of spelling concerning the consonants and the vowels. Well, if we focus on this different in pronunciation and writing and take the word often as an example, well, during the 17th century, the word often is pronounced without t, without t, often. It is written, of course, but it is not pronounced, O-F-T-E-N. But during the 18th century, it is pronounced often. Often, you see, there is a sound for the letter t, the letter T. There is the sound. Why? Why this? Just to differentiate it from the word often. Often, pronounced often. O-R-P-H-A-N. You write it?
Yes.
O-R-P-H-A-N. Often. Well, it sounds like often, which we said in the 17th century, it is pronounced as what? Often. Often. So, tracing back the writing in the history of English, well, it refers back to 5,000 years ago. So it is recent compared with what is speaking. Speaking, we said, well, some hundred years ago, or some 100,000 years ago. Well, in chapter 4 speaks about the backgrounds of English. The backgrounds of English. English is developed in Britain and recently in America and elsewhere in the world. So, first, English is practiced in Britain and then moved to America after the discovery of Columbus, together with the Red Indian, who were previous inhabitants in America. And in elsewhere, there are some other countries that speak English as their first language. In India, for example, English is used in formal everyday English. In Australia, English is used as the first language. In Iceland or Ireland, in so many countries, well, English is spoken as the mother tongue, but still with a different variety or dialect from that of Britain and America. Well, as I told you, the Anglo-Saxon invaded Britain in the 15th century. In the 15th century. Yeah, and as I said, these are two tribes, Angles and Saxon. That is why England, well, takes its name from Angel, the land of the Angles, the land of the Angles. Well, the language that is developed from this invasion of the Anglo-Saxon and the other tribes is called Indo-European. Indo-European, because this language is used all through Britain or Europe and together with the east coast of India. That is why this language is referred to as Indo-European language. It is spoken in both India, South India and Europe. And of course, there are some errors that could make a history of this language. Paleolithic is a time, well, during the Old Stone Age. During the Old Stone Age, and the people during that era or during that period were hunters and gatherers. They get their food from hunting and gathering the fruiting trees or the vegetables that grow. Yes, what can we make use of this? Yes, in the history of language. What has it related to make the history of language? Well, if the people are hunters and gatherers, we think of forming and coining verbs that could suit these two jobs. The language of hunting, deer, arrows, a spear, a snare, trap. We make words, verbs, nouns that could go with this job of hunting. And likewise gathering. Again, we could invent and coin a language that what helps gathering. And again also Neolithic. The Neolithic, this is usually in the New Stone Age. This is another era to make history of a language. Neolithic era, Neolithic period. This is usually, well, we refer to it as the New Stone Age. And the people are agriculturists. They practice agriculture.
Yes.
Again, this is to help to provide me with the vocabulary that is used in agriculture. Like what, if I ask you a question? Yeah, the vocabulary that could be used for agriculture. Farmer, farming, seeds, yeah?
Farmer, farms, fields.
Yeah, exactly. The soil, the weather, rains. You see, we make use of this vocabulary, yeah. So a language is much affected by these eras and periods. And the language is also affected by the migration, early migration of people, yes, who came from Spain and South France. You see, the people who migrated to these areas affected the language. They brought with them their language. Yeah. The Indo-European origins, we said the Anglo-Saxon, the Angles and the Saxon, both of them used the Indo-European language. But what is the origin of the Indo-European language itself? Where does it come from? Where is it first used? So it must have an origin. It must be dated back to some eras, okay? Yeah. So usually beware the 3rd and 4th millennium, or the 3rd and 4th century, appeared the Indo-European language. This can be dated back to this time. And its culture is actually considered very advanced, the culture of this era, the Indo-European. Because they use words like what? Wheel and vehicles. These are some of the vocabulary could be traced back to the period of the Indo-European language. So they must have had what? A kind of civilized culture or far advanced culture, because they use words like that, wheel. You see, this we hear of it in recent inventions. And again, within this language, in this era, we hear the words like cow and horse, because they depend a lot on the wealth, yes, or getting their wealth from these two sources, cows and horses. So they invented words, borrowed words from other languages to deal with cattle and horses. They brought a word from Latin. They borrowed a word from Latin, spelled like that, P-E-C-U-S, pecus. Pecus. this is as a synonym or cognate to what? To cattle, because they live upon breeding cattle, as I said, and breeding horses. They depend on these two things a lot. Okay, but Indo-Europeans include all the languages that are spoken in the continent in Europe, together with the Russian, Polish, Bulgarian, Albanian, and Armenian. These are all to be considered Indo-European languages. Yes, if we check one example to see how these languages come around this word or vocabulary. In English, the word father. The word father. Yes, during this time resembles the Danish word or the Norwegian word father. Father in Norwegian and Danish, or even in Sweden, it is father, F-A-D-E-R. You see, there is a sort of similarity between father and what? Father. This in 3 different languages: Norwegian, Danish, and Sweden. Icelandic, in Iceland, it is like this transcription: F-A, the, simple of the, I-R. In Dutch, it is V-A-D-E-R, Vader, Vader. And in German, and in the German or Germany, Vater, Vater, V-A-T-E-R. You see, they are very similar concerning the letters.
Yes.
This to show that all these are one family. Yes, are one family. These languages are one family. Make one family. Yeah. Language topology and language families. You see, this leads us to speak about the families. Language topology. When we say topology, the similarities and differences between languages. The topology, yeah. If you have been asked to write something about the topology of a language, that means you have been asked to talk about the similarities and the differences between languages. How do they differ? How do they come upon some common grounds? They are similar in a way. Well, non-Indo-European languages. As we talked about all these languages as one family under the subtitle Indo-European languages, again there are non-Indo-European languages. There are non-Indo-European languages. Number 1 is Semitic. Semitic language. It is spelled like that, S-E-M-I-T-I-C, Semitic. This is a language apart from Indo-European languages. Afro-Shiitic. Afro-Shiitic. Afro-Shiitic is spelled like that. Capital A, F-R-O-A-S-I-A-T-I-C. Afro-Shiitic. Okay, we stop here a little bit and then we continue after that. Okay.